Good Wednesday evening to you, and thanks for joining us tonight at 6:30 on another beautiful evening across northern Michigan. But like all other good things, this nice weather will eventually have to come to an end, and it sounds like for some of us, that end is actually tomorrow, but not for all of us, right, Joe? Sounds like some people will still see some pretty warm temperatures, others maybe a little cooler weather.
Yeah, I mean, if you're up north, it's going to be in the 60s, low 70s. If you're down south, you're still looking at low and mid 80s tomorrow. So Big Rapids, warm day.
Yep.
Sault Ste. Marie, not as much. Kind of one of those kind of days. That's because we do have a cold front that's going to pass through. So our northern areas will be a little cooler behind that front tomorrow. We have had very little rain, although near Newberry there was a shower, a thunderstorm earlier, but that's about it, Maya, for rain. And, you know, looking ahead here, the first day of fall is Monday. Hard to believe it's like 5 days away now.
Yeah.
Could be a little wet early next week. So we'll take a look at all that coming up a little later.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. And speaking of, in just a few weeks, that's when bow hunters will be taking to the field armed with their archery equipment. But a northern Michigan lawmaker has introduced a bill that would allow those hunters to carry something else with them, intended to protect them from some animals that they don't want to have an encounter with. Mark Gillette explains.
We sell a lot of the things they need. In fact, we tripled the size of our archery department inside our new addition now.
At TCH Gear in Interlochen, they have all the things bow hunters need, or want, or maybe even dream about, in order to gear up for the October 1st archery deer opener.
All the stuff that you need to be done. In fact, last week we put over 50 bows through our service department just last week alone.
They're buying bows, arrows, stands, targets, all the stuff you need to fill a tag should your desired target walk into range. And they're also buying stuff should an undesirable target show up.
One of the easiest ways, as far as distraction, is bear spray. I mean, this is the number one, way to deal with that. If you encounter a bear, you get this. This has got a long spray on it.
And for Michigan bow hunters who lack a concealed pistol license, bear spray may be their only real option should a bear, a wolf, or a cougar make them the target. Under current Michigan law, bow hunters can't carry a pistol for protection in the field if they don't have a CPL.
A lot of people come in and they say, hey, I want to get a CPL just so I can carry my gun in the field.
State Representative Dave Preston noticed a trend.
Just really talking to a lot of constituents and just hearing their frustrations.
He says in the UP, his neck of the woods, and the things that live there, something needed to be done to give bow hunters an option when it comes to their safety.
I can't blame anybody for carrying a sidearm out there, especially with the predators that we've got, up here in the UP.
So he introduced this, House Bill 4855.
It simply allows someone that's normally able to open carry with a firearm in Michigan to open carry a firearm while bow hunting.
This doesn't allow for the hunter to use the firearm to harvest an animal.
At the end of the day, this is about best practices, safety, and you cannot properly defend yourself with a bow. You just can't.
It just allows the non-CPL holder, who legally can open carry in Michigan, to do the same in the field for protection against what many see is a growing threat in our woods.
It's pretty high with bears and the wolves and now the cougar entering the fray up here in the UP.
This also sets one set of rules on a topic that right now there's a fair amount of confusion on when it comes to who is and who isn't allowed to carry.
A lot of local sheriffs and MSP officers are shocked when they even look into it to themselves because a lot of people automatically think that it's okay. And it's a practice that's I know it's being done up here because people they're really nervous.
That was Mark Gillette reporting. According to the latest data available, with more than 300,000 bow hunters, Michigan actually ranked 3rd in the country. Again, right now it is illegal for a non-CPL certified hunter to carry in the field during bow season. We will keep you updated on the bill's progress. But what are your thoughts on the bill? That is our question of the day today. Do you think that all bow hunters should be allowed to carry a pistol to protect themselves from any sort of predator animal? Again, that could be a wolf, a bear, a coyote. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you over to our website where you can vote. As of right now, a lot of people voting yes, few people saying no, and also go ahead and head over to our Facebook page while you're voting on our website and leave a comment. At the end of the show, we'll take a look at those updated live results for the question, and I'll read a few of your comments. Switching gears now, small businesses are getting a big boost throughout the Northwest Michigan region. Baker College and Cadillac and the Michigan Small Business Development Center have launched a new program aimed at supporting entrepreneurs, and it officially opened its doors today. Up North Live's Tony Lundy takes us to the ribbon cutting ceremony held at Baker College.
The new center is the result of a partnership between Baker College and the Michigan Small Business Development Center. It's designed to provide free business consulting, workshops, and startup resources to entrepreneurs and small business owners.
The ribbon cutting and the partnership with SBDC and Baker College is phenomenal. It's great for not only Cadillac, but the region in general, so the northern region of the state. And considering that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, they employ over half of the individuals in our state. We are delighted to contribute to that.
The center is also focused on connecting with students and creating internship opportunities, all while strengthening ties with the business community.
Really, what I'm excited about is what this means as far as a commitment both from the SBDC and Baker College to the community. It's an investment in the community is the way I feel about it. It's basically us showing that we're here to support the community and the businesses around.
Officials say having a physical SBDC location in Cadillac will make resources more accessible, especially in rural and underserved areas. Workshops and training events are already being planned.
Thanks to our Tony Lundy for that report. And one of the better parts about this is all services at the new center are completely free. You'll find a link to schedule a consultation over on our website, UpNorthLive.com. Well, the National Writers Series in Traverse City is getting ready to welcome its next author to town. Mary Roach is the author of Replaceable You, also the author of several New York Times bestsellers, and just so happens to be our guest here on Unscripted tonight. Mary, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Maya. Pleasure to be here.
We're so happy to have you here. I also have your book with us here, Replaceable You. Lovely cover. However, I just got this book today, so unfortunately I did not have time to read it or really look into it. So let us know, what is this book all about?
Sure. It's all about the challenging, sometimes surreal, and very inspiring efforts to replace bits and pieces of the human body. So we're talking about going all the way back to the dawn of plastic surgery, like 2,000 years ago, nose replacements, rebuilding noses, because nasal mutilation was a thing that happened a lot, going through mechanical breathing, skin grafting, repurposing parts of the intestines to become other parts of the body, joints, reconstructing joints, oh gosh, we got eyeballs, we got hair, growing hair from scratch, trying to build follicles from stem cells, some of the work that's going on there, bioprinting, and also I spent some time watching an old school tissue donation where the tissue, different bones and muscles and ligaments are taken from a donor so they can be used in for people who need them. So all over the anatomy. The subtitle of the book is Adventures in Human Anatomy, so that's kind of what I was having for several years, Adventures in Human Anatomy.
Very interesting. So what got you interested in this topic to begin with?
I actually got interested in this through an email from a reader named Judy, who had an idea for a book that I should do, which I didn't end up doing. It had to do with pro football referees, and I don't really watch football. So, but in the course of an email exchange, she mentioned that she's an elective amputee, and that's somebody who their foot was healthy, but because she'd had spina bifida, she'd had a problem with her spinal cord, her foot was twisted, she'd had a lot of surgeries, just couldn't walk right, would see people with a below the knee prosthetic who are able to hike and were able to run, and she was like, why can't I have that? And I thought it was an interesting dilemma of, like, how do you make that decision? How does a surgeon decide, when to cut off a foot that, has a blood supply, it's healthy, but it's just not working? So that was kind of where my interest started.
And I'm sure when it comes to writing a book like this, you've got to do a lot of research. What was the process of actually writing the book like?
Oh, well, for my books, I try to go somewhere for every chapter because I like to have, people and conversations and things to describe. So I was all over the map, literally. I was in Mongolia for a chapter that had to do with cataract surgery. I was in the former Soviet Georgia for a rather unorthodox genital reconstruction technique where they used the man's own middle finger to rebuild a penis, and that's not commonly done. I don't know anyone else who does that, but it was a way to kind of look at some of these difficult composite tissue transplants, like faces and hands, and those are tricky to do. So. And then here in the U.S., I was in a number of, I was in the Silicon Valley down in not Silicon Valley, but the equivalent down in San Diego at a startup biotech company. I was at Carnegie Mellon University where they have an amazing bioprinting lab. And I was out in Kansas City. I wanted to experience what it's like to be in a working iron lung. So I was out there doing that. So I get around.
Yeah, sounds like you have been to a lot of different places and you've seen a lot of different things. What would you say was the most remarkable thing that you learned during all of this research?
I guess what stays with me is I visited at the University of Michigan. They have a lab called the Extracorporeal Life Support Lab. Extracorporeal meaning outside the body. So they were looking at ways to take, if you got an organ that is going to go to be transplanted into someone, they were looking at ways to extend the shelf life, if you will, because if you just put an organ on ice and ship it out to where it's going, you have 6 hours to get it there before it starts to degrade. So they were looking at ways to extend that, and then. And what I was able to observe was actually this really floored me. You take a heart out of a body, it will keep beating for as long as 10 minutes, just like in your hand, just beating, which was remarkable. And I was able to hold this heart, which was kind of astounding. The heart, it's just amazing what the human body and just like cells, even just cells alone from the heart, cardiomyocytes, they'll be beating just under the microscope, just a bunch of cells. Like, this is what we do. Yeah. We're heart muscle cells. We beat. And that was just, I had no idea. So that was incredible.
Wow. Yeah, no, that is fascinating. So it sounds like there's a lot of very interesting information in this book, but it also sounds like you sprinkle in a little bit of humor. The National Writers Series calls you one of the country's funniest science writers. How do you feel with having a title like that?
Well, funniest science writer, I don't know, the bar's not too high. I mean, it's not like I'm competing with the Daily Show or anything. But I'll take the praise. It's
right.
fine.
Yeah.
I get off some good lines.
Quite the compliment there. So yeah, very intriguing. I'm so excited to have your book and to read it, and I'm sure you're excited to head over to Traverse City to talk more about it. Have you been to Traverse City or Northern Michigan before?
Yes, I have. I've done the series before. My book, Grunt, which was about military science, I went to the Opera House and was on stage for that, and it was a fabulous event. It was hilarious because the person interviewing me, I think Benjamin Bush was his name, he's another writer, and in the middle of it, out of nowhere, he goes, well, here's a passage I'd like you to read, but first I'd like you to put on these, and he holds up these big gorilla gloves. Like, just for no apparent reason. I'm like, okay. I put on the gorilla gloves and I attempted to turn the page with the big gorilla fingers. It was hilarious. So I'm very much looking forward to my return to Traverse City.
Well, we're very looking forward to having you come back to Traverse City, and who knows what's in store for you next Tuesday, September 23rd at the City Opera House at 7 o'clock. Mary, thank you so much for coming on Unscripted. Again, if you want to hear more from Mary and more about her book and the process and everything, make sure you head over to the City Opera House. Mark your calendars. Again, I'll say it one more time. Tuesday, September 23rd. That is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. You can find tickets online and more information over on our website, UpNorthLive.com. All right, let's take a quick break, but coming up next, you'll have much more on your forecast for the rest of the work week. Stay with us.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Well, the official start to fall is just a couple of days away. Definitely still feeling like summer out there, but for some of us, it's going to start to feel like fall pretty soon. For more on that, let's turn things over to Joe. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, you know, we've had a nice stretch of weather here. It's been sunny and warm. But
we just had a joke during the break, and we're still recovering from it.
Happens, right? You know,
it happens.
You know, in a normal workplace, when you have a joke, like you go to the water cooler, you laugh about it at your cubicle or outside next to the truck.
Here we're on TV. So.
You're right. Anyway, let's go to Mackinac Island. It's 70 degrees there with lots of sunshine, although a few clouds are drifting through here. A nice day, though, 70 degrees. It's going to be a little cooler tomorrow, though. And we'll start with that. Here's a look regionally at temperatures. Still in the 80s for a good portion of lower Michigan. Over across Lake Green Bay, 85. But if you look north of Lake Superior, temperatures are in the 50s and 60s. That's because a cold front has passed through there. You can see the blue line from eastern Lake Superior to near Marquette. And then that will kind of work through tonight through tomorrow. And behind that, we are going to see a little bit of cooler weather. We've also had some showers and thunderstorms. Not a lot in our viewing area, but you can see these storms really dropping some heavy rain in the central UP, kind of originating south of Marquette. That's just ahead of the cold front, and then down toward the Iron Mountain area into the Wisconsin border region there. And then around Newberry earlier, right there, little few drops of rain, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder, but that is pretty much it for our viewing area. We're not going to get much rain out of this. This front will drop south, dry in the morning. And then right here, Traverse City over toward Cadillac and the Houghton Lake area. That's where we could see maybe a shower tomorrow. And then that'll kind of come to an end. And then we head into Friday. Some rain on the other side of Lake Michigan, but not here. Friday looks dry. If you have weekend plans in generally speaking, Saturday will be the better of the 2 days, partly to mostly cloudy, 60s and 70s. Sunday, mostly cloudy. And then Sunday, there is the chance for showers or maybe even a thunderstorm. I don't think a washout Sunday, but you're more liable, I should say, to not run into any rain Saturday. Sunday, there is that chance for a little bit of rain. And then early next week, maybe a few showers Monday, heading into Tuesday. So that's a good thing. We could use a little rain. Temperatures 60s, low 70s. It's going to be a little cooler the next few days. And then Sunday and then more so into Monday. That's when we're looking at some showers and some clouds early next week, Maya.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for that weather update. Let's take another quick break, but coming up next, we'll check in with Sports Director Harrison Beebe and talk a little Red Wings hockey. Straight ahead. The Detroit Red Wings getting ready to head to Traverse City for camp. For more on that, let's turn things over to our sports director, Harrison Beebe. And Harrison, we talked earlier, I think, on Unscripted about some of the changes to training camp this year. Do you want to just quickly go over those?
Yeah, a little abbreviated compared to training camps from years past, unfortunately. The Prospects tournament was not here this time around. It's down to just 2 teams, the Dallas Stars and the Red Wings Prospects. After COVID-19, teams started creating their own mini Prospects tournaments, so that's what's knocked it down from, at one point, it was 8 teams up here for the Prospects tournament, which was a pretty cool event if you're a huge hockey fan, especially of all the teams and the future players. Training camp will go on with the traditional 3 days of sessions. The big event, though, that usually wraps up training camp every year is the red and white scrimmage. That's traditionally on the Sunday as things wrap up. I think it's to tie in with the 100th anniversary of the team. It's their 100th year as a franchise, celebrating 100 years of Red Wing hockey this year. They're having the red-white scrimmage, the big one, at Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, where the Grand Rapids Griffins play. That's where the red-white scrimmage is going to be this upcoming Sunday. But if you want to check out some practices, and they are going to do some kind of inner scrimmages amongst the players that'll be up here. That'll be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I believe, 10 a.m. to 2:30. You can catch one of those 3 sessions over the next 3 days.
And based on our outfit choices, I will be cheering for Team Red, and you will be cheering for Team White.
Hey, you can't lose, right? As long as you're cheering for red or white, chances are one of them is going to win. And in the long run, the losing team might help the winning team win in the end. So.
There you go. And another change this year, a new head coach and his first time up in Traverse City for training camp.
Yeah, Todd McClellan hired mid-season after the things went through with their old coach. And they actually did pretty well early on with McClellan calling the shots, but then kind of stumbled into the end of the regular season. So what will he do now as part of his first training camp to put his fingerprints on this team? Should be interesting. Not a lot of roster changes, really. They added a big goalie in John Gibson. That'll help eat up some minutes between the pipes. But besides that, it's pretty much the same Red Wing roster you've been used to the last handful of years, which is good. There's a lot of talent there, but it's also a team that Steve Yzerman's feeling that push. They haven't made the playoffs now, coming up on 10 years this upcoming spring. So.
Got to find a way to get over that hump. All right, Harrison, thank you so much. I know you will be at some of those training camp sessions, events, and will bring us coverage of those. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, we'll check back in with the live results for our question of the day, show you those results, and read a few of your comments. All of that in just a few minutes.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
All right, let's take a look at the final results for our question of the day. Should all bow hunters be allowed to carry a pistol for protection from certain animals? You can see the results on your screen. 73% of voters saying yes, 27% no. Over on Facebook, quite a few comments. Keith says absolutely, not even a question. While Jim says 30 years of hunting, can't say I've ever been worried of animals in Michigan woods to the point where I need to carry. So a few different opinions there. You can join the conversation over on our Facebook page, and you can still vote on the question of the day over on our website, UpNorthLive.com. But that'll do it for us here on Up North Live Unscripted at 6:30. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock tonight.